leadership lesson, and I'd like to introduce Daniela Laiseca from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. And she has a very vast experience with co-teaching, and so we're going to have a conversation about that. Daniela, you want to introduce yourself a little bit further?
Yes, well, good morning again, everyone. As Tamara said, I am an ESL teacher with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, and I'm really honored and excited to be here today with you talking about my experience with co-teaching and collaboration with our colleagues.
So one of the things that we've heard over the years is that there are good experiences with co-teaching and bad experiences with co-teaching. I mean, what do you think? Have you had good and bad experiences with co-teaching or collaboration?
Yeah,
So
all of the above.
all of us have. So one thing I'd like to do is to try to reframe it a little bit. Instead of what's good or what's bad, let's look at it as stages on a journey. And so we're borrowing Bruce Tuckman's 5 stages of team development today to organize our discussion on co-teaching. So the 5 stages are forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. And what I love about this is that there is a reality that storming happens. So that's where we're going to go. So Daniela, can you talk to us about some of your experiences with forming co-teaching and collaboration relationships?
Yes, so as Tamara shared before, I have 20 years of all total teaching experience, and um, 15 of those have been with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, and I've been in many different co-teaching situations. So, but I want to tell you specifically about the one that started like 5 years ago when I was assigned to work in the biology classroom, like permanently. I co-teach biology, ESL biology, and my new co-teacher, she was moving from Florida, right? We didn't know each other. She wasn't only new to our school, but new to our district, new to our state. And the expectations that she had from co-teaching, from her own experience, were very different from what I had experienced, right? Based on this situation, it was very important for us to have conversations about our learning styles, our backgrounds, like identify what she wanted to look in her classroom like, and what my role was going to be in that in her classroom, in her teaching biology, where she wasn't used to break down content because she was teaching like regular students. You'll have to go like um, following a pace, but then with the L students, we had to kind of stop and slow down a little bit and break down the information. So having all of those conversations on how we wanted our classroom to look like, and what skills and strengths we both brought to the table was very important. So for me, this forming stage, the keys here are to establish norms, discuss what some of your non-negotiables are, what some of your pet peeves are, how do you want to plan, and very important, how do you want to divide and conquer all of the workload that you're going to have.
Yes. And that's one of the beautiful things about co-teaching is when it's working well, we have 2 heads being better than just one. We should have a lightened load. And as I said earlier, storming is real. Storming happens. And I wonder if most of the teachers that I hear decry co-teaching do it because their bad experiences were in a storming stage and never left that stage. Like it just kind of got stuck and mired in storming instead of moving into the following stage. But let's talk about, Daniela, some of your experiences with storming and how you might have handled that.
Yes, so as I said, I have had all of the experiences, and some very bad ones where I had, I was, my co-teacher, he would just, when I got there, he thought it was like free time. He would leave the classroom and leave me there, or just, I do all of my visuals, my posters, and hang them around the classroom just to come back and see them in the trash can. So, and of course, I have had the opposite of that too. Great experiences. But so what happens when or what do you do? How do you approach this when you are an ESL teacher, when you are trying to support and help your students in the classroom, but you also have to build this relationship with the teacher, and it's hard. So I believe that as an ELCO teacher, you need to be very flexible and understanding with your content teacher, even when they do the unthinkable. Because I think first, some teachers might feel very intimidated that you are in their classroom. They feel like they are being put under the microscope, that you are there to criticize their every movement, that what they are doing right and wrong towards our L students. And also, like, not every teacher understands what the L teacher does in the classroom. And sometimes they think that you are there just to run copies or just watch their class. So you have to be prepared, right, to have these difficult conversations, and you need to lead from a place of grace and flexibility, right? You have to um, lead this collaboration journey from a place where that teacher understands that you are there to work with him or her, and you're not there to undermine what they do in the classroom. So one strategy that it's really worked for me is, when you need to start this difficult conversation, you start from, like, giving them a question like, okay, what went well today? What do you think worked great today? And that question opens up the conversation for reflection, and it takes away the, oh, you did this wrong, or you didn't let me use my poster, or you didn't let me hand out the material that I have prepared for my L students. So it leads the conversation to a more reflective conversation, where you both are going to focus on the lesson that you did, the uh, the things that you were not able to accomplish with your students, not what the other teacher didn't do right, but how that what I couldn't do with my students. So I think the students, right, are the reason why we are together. And so the key here for me is to lead that journey from a place of grace, where you focus on the main goal, that is, support and yeah, support the students, and from a place of like an invitation to a constructive reflection, if that makes sense.
I love both of those phrases, so I'm going to just repeat them to highlight what you're saying, Daniela. Lead with grace, and I love that you're naming the ESL teacher partner as the leader in that relationship, but we're leading with grace and flexibility. And then the invitation to reflection. So it's an invitation to call into a conversation, not a call out about what somebody's done wrong. And I'll just add, Daniela, one strategy that I have tried that has begun to be useful for me is yes and. So I say yes and repeat what I'm hearing from the other person's concerned, and then and not but, because it's not contradictory. We can hold two things in the same space at the same time. So yes, and I'd like to I'd like to question this, or I'd like to um, make sure we're focusing on this piece for these students. So I can kind of hold two things at the same time. So storming is definitely a place that we get stuck, but when we get into norming, and you've already mentioned norming as the thing that makes it work, we really start to see things settle in place. Daniela, can you tell us how that's worked for you?
Yes. So, in this stage, we already have like clear what our roles and responsibilities are. You feel comfortable with your co-teacher. You both collaborate and reflect together. You receive feedback, but then that's when it's working, right? But what happened when you have not been able to establish those foundations with your partner because of lack of co-planning, or time to talk and collaborate? uh, well, once again, you stay focused on the goal of helping students acquire the language that they need to master the content. Like, just recently, and when I say recently, this just happened 3 weeks ago, I was asked to co-teach with a math 3 class. So the first thing there, see how I said math 3. I am definitely not comfortable with math 3 at all. So we already had started the second semester, because I think we were like maybe 2 or 3 weeks into the semester when I was asked to do that, all for the right reasons, right? Because it's a class that really needs the help. But then that leaves me with um, getting into a class when it had already started. I don't really have the time to co-plan with my co-teacher. So what we did was, first, again, you're the math teacher, you're doing the content, and I'm the L teacher, and I'm gonna be here to help you identify the language that the students need to learn, right, to master the
Mhm.
language, and also strategies that are going to help them be successful, learning strategies that are going to help them be successful in acquiring the math.
Right.
And I think uh, something that is very important here, and thinking about also the disadvantage that I have, that is I am there, but I'm not there every day. I'm there
Mhm.
only twice a week. So we added into the mix here, we need to teach these kids self-advocacy strategies where they don't become too dependent on me when I'm there.
Mhm.
But then when I'm not there, they need to feel comfortable going uh, to the math teacher. So like teaching them like some phrases, or how to communicate, how to come out of the shell a little bit, and because they have so much to deal with, like if they don't know the language,
Yeah.
some of them are new to school, so you need to help them build that confidence that is going also to make them feel comfortable in the classroom. And I think that's also a transferable skill
Yes.
that they can use in other classes. Yeah, so key here for me are like identify your students' needs and tools you can consistently implement with your co-teacher, so students can achieve both
Yeah.
academically and socially.
What I like is that you're extending this concept of norming with your co-teaching partnership to norming with the students as well. So we're building a community of learning that is normed for success. And Daniela, we talked a little bit about different models, that we didn't want teachers to necessarily feel that they had to get stuck in one model. So, even when we are norming and we found something that's successful in its way, there's still always a chance to branch out to a new model, try something new, take a risk as a team, and see how a different model might work.
Yes, and I think that even because in all of this process of planning and reflecting on how your classes are going, you also start you're not only building this or doing this relationship with your co-teacher, but you're also like your students are also uh, I, I feel like they have the main role, right, in all of this community. So I think that even you might have a preference, but then even if you need to change for a lesson because that model is going to be more effective in your delivering and accomplishing the objectives, don't be afraid to change it. You don't have to be married to just one
Right.
model. You can change it around the needs and the goals that you want to accomplish.
Absolutely. Thank you. And while we're changing slides, I want to thank Graham for adding into the chat some very detailed responses and experiences that he's had with co-teaching. So thank you, Graham, for adding all of that. So according to the Tuckman model, when we've gotten through norms and the norms are functional, we get into performing, where everything just sort of is flowing together and it all looks right. And these are maybe some of the experiences that we've had where collaboration or co-teaching just really seems to flow. And sometimes we're not aware of the different stages, or maybe we skipped storming altogether. Maybe it was our best friend teacher partner that we got to join with. But can you tell us about performing, Daniela?
Yes. Well, going back to my experience that I was talking to you about with my co-teacher that moved here from Florida. Well, of course, the performance stage was the golden age for us. Like the flow of our performance was optimal. And as a result of that, we were able to increase in that first year that we were working together our biology LGLP increased by 16%, and their credit and career readiness increased by almost 10%. So I think that that what of course, setting the foundations and all this, what we've been talking about, it one of the keys here was that, okay, we were combining our skills and our strengths, but I think that even more powerful than that was, it is the opportunity that you have to reflect on your own practice,
Hmm.
and you it's like you're kind of coaching each other along the way.
Hmm.
So it's not just that working together and like doing a great class and having great results, but you get to the point where you feel so comfortable that you are coaching each other. And but it's just, you if you maybe made a mistake, or you don't have or what you think it's a mistake, or if you don't have a great lesson, instead of again like that blame that, oh, you did this, you didn't do that, we always went back to reflection. Oh, I forgot to do this, or how can we make it better next time? So I think that uh, keys here is to capitalize on the skills and the strengths that you both have as teachers, as professionals, but also take the opportunity to coach each other, so you can have a better teaching and learning process from a
Hmm.
in a constructive manner.
Hmm. And I agree with what Graham is adding in about the shared planning time. And I do advocate in my district that principals schedule planning time if they want collaboration to work before we even begin co-teaching. I agree that that's really important. And I frequently see in schools where principals don't use the same language you use and just assume that two teachers can get along when they're assigned to the same classroom with no chance to communicate. And that kind of is where we get to storming. Um, so we know that every good thing comes to an end. There are different reasons why the golden age, as you said, Daniela, might end. Not to mention, just the fact that schools shift and change, and so the way that the partnership works in a bigger community that is always shifting is going to create a certain amount of adjourning. But can you share your experience of what happened when your long-term co-teacher and your partnership needed to dissolve?
Yes. So, well, even even the sun sets in paradise. So, my co-teacher left for another school, and I was then assigned to a new partner. Um, and this teacher, he is on his third year teaching. So you also need to think about like the teaching styles, but also the difference in age. Not that I'm much older than him, but he's 25. So it's like he has a different perspective from the classroom. So we went back to this our first stage, when we were trying to again collaborate, decide what our partnership was going to be. Was we went back to forming. So something great that happened here, and that I think it's key for me, and I think like for everybody, that you need to trust your professional judgment, and take what you have learned from your other
Mhm.
experiences, your other collaborating times, and bring them to the table, and lead the conversation, the collaboration journey from Grace. And something wonderful that happened is that maybe 2 months into the school year, one person from the district came to observe our classroom, and when she knew, because she's new her role too, like she didn't really know our school. So when she knew that it was our first time co-teaching, she couldn't believe it. She was like, I thought you have been co-teaching like for forever.
Mhm.
So I think that it was really wonderful for me. As I experienced, like, oh, I felt proud of it, because
Mhm.
like and that's what I said, trust your professional judgment. I knew like some of the key things that I've shared today that worked in building my partnership with my former co-teacher actually worked with my new co-teacher. And one thing that I might add that I just occurred to me, because of course now my former co-teacher and I were friends, right? And we still collaborate.
Mhm.
So I know that what we did in our classroom is not only working for me with my new co-teacher, but it's also working for her when she's not even co-teaching anymore. So it of course translate into that teaching and learning process, and that that we do to provide support for our students. So yes.
Thank you for sharing all of those stories. And we also wanted to share, just in case you haven't had a chance to see it, the link for this is in the notes at the bottom of the slide. But this is WIDA's illustration of a successful collaboration experience between a content teacher and an English language development specialist. And so I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to see it. If you want to look at it a little bit further, then please grab the link to the PDF that's in the bottom of the slides. But I love how it really kind of gives us some steps that maybe we didn't know how to do before, and also that are now supported more accurately or more specifically in the new WIDA 2020 framework, which has been adopted by North Carolina as our English language development standard course of study, and has been really taken out. Like North Carolina has really taken out a lot of that and made sure that those resources are all available to us in terms of unpacking, mapping, crosswalks, and parent and caregiver guides. So all of what this is depicting is supported directly from North Carolina now. Thank you, Daniela. Does anybody have any questions for Daniela or comments to add about your own co-teaching experiences?